Blonde Jimin didn't just go viral, he broke the internet. When Park Jimin stepped onto the stage with that striking blonde hair, the world seemed to pause. Fans couldn't look away. Cameras flashed endlessly. Social media exploded within minutes. It wasn't just a new look, it was a moment. Back then, BTS was already rising fast, but this version of Jimin felt different. More intense. More captivating. Almost unreal. People weren't just watching him, they were mesmerized by him. Every move he made looked perfect. Every expression felt calculated yet natural. His body, his lines, his presence, it all came together like a performance crafted to perfection. And fans loved every second of it. Clips of Blonde Jimin spread like wildfire across the internet. Twitter trends, YouTube compilations, TikTok edits, everywhere you looked, he was there. Fans called him legendary, untouchable, even dangerous because of how powerful his aura felt. But behind that perfection, there was something no one saw. While fans were praising his visuals and body, few realized what it actually took for Jimin to look that way. The sharp jawline, the defined abs, the almost fragile frame that somehow still carried explosive energy on stage. It wasn't just genetics. It wasn't just practice. It was sacrifice. In later interviews, Park Jimin revealed something that shocked even his most loyal fans. During that era, he pushed his body to extreme limits. Limits that many people wouldn't even consider. He admitted that there were times he barely ate. Not because he didn't want to, but because he felt like he couldn't. The pressure was overwhelming. In an industry where appearance can define success, Jimin felt the need to meet expectations that kept rising higher and higher. Every performance had to be better. Every look had to be sharper. Every detail had to be flawless. And so, he made a decision. A dangerous one. There were days when he survived on almost nothing. Sometimes just one small meal. Sometimes even less. Hunger became something he learned to ignore. Weakness became something he forced himself to hide. And yet, when he stepped on stage, none of it showed. That's what made it even more shocking. Fans saw energy, confidence, power. They saw a performer at the peak of his career. But behind the scenes, his body was fighting to keep up with the demands he placed on it. There were moments when he felt dizzy. Moments when exhaustion hit harder than expected. Moments where his body was clearly asking him to stop. But stopping wasn't an option. At least, that's what he believed at the time. Because in his mind, this was what it took to be perfect. This was what it took to be remembered. And in a way, it worked. Blonde Jimin became iconic. A version of him that fans still talk about to this day. A look that defined an era. A performance that set a new standard. But as the admiration grew, so did the concern. When fans eventually learned about what he went through, the reaction shifted. What was once pure praise turned into worry. What was once admiration turned into questions. Was it worth it? Was perfection really worth that kind of pain? Many fans felt conflicted. They loved Jimin. They admired his dedication. But at the same time, they couldn't ignore the reality of what he endured. And perhaps, that was the moment everything changed. Because Jimin himself began to see it differently too. Over time, he opened up more. He spoke about how unhealthy that period was. How he wouldn't recommend it to anyone. How he learned that pushing himself that far wasn't the answer. It was a rare moment of honesty in an industry that often hides its struggles behind perfect images. And fans listened. They didn't just see him as an idol anymore. They saw him as a human being. Someone who felt pressure. Someone who made mistakes. Someone who learned and grew. That honesty made them love him even more. Because behind the flawless performances, behind the viral moments, behind the blonde hair that broke the internet, there was a real person. A person who sacrificed more than anyone realized. The person who faced the dark side of perfection and came out stronger. Today, when people look back at Blonde Jimin, they still see the beauty, the charisma, the unforgettable presence that took over the world. But now they also see something deeper. They see the story behind it. They see the struggle. And they understand the truth. Because sometimes, the most perfect moments come from the most imperfect realities. And sometimes, the brightest spotlight hides the darkest truth.